Hello and welcome to the Indie Bandits podcast. My name's Joe, and today I'm going to be joined by Jimmy and Archie, and we'll be chatting about a few news articles and some interesting developments in the world of gaming.
Can we talk about that ninja bloke and how tragic he is first?
Not to sound ignorant, but Ninja's the pink-haired, blue-haired lad who plays
He's the multicolour-haired person who plays games on Twitch.
Yeah, is it specifically Fortnite, though?
Mainly, I think so. Yeah. He might do other things, I'm just not interested in him.
I'm sure he might be a nice guy, but...
Well, listen to this and then you can tell us what you think. So this was his tweet today. It reads, "The phrase, 'it's just a game' is such a weak mindset. You're okay with what happened, losing, imperfection of a craft. When you stop getting angry after losing, you've lost twice. There's always something to learn, and always room for improvement. Never settle."
Alright.
Yeah. I think he's gotten confused between the phrase, "it's just a game," and like the separate thing of people not liking to lose. I think they're two very separate things. Like, most people don't like to lose at something, but most people understand that after you've got a roof over your head and a warm meal in your belly, everything else is a luxury in life. So it is just a game. I think that's what people mean when they say that. Like, worst case scenario, no one's died, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, get your priorities straight.
Yeah, like, you're sitting down and playing games for millions of dollars is a massive luxury in life, and it is just a game at the end of the day. If you believe it's anything more than that, then yeah, your priorities are completely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion.
Yeah. It's his career at this point. That is what he does as his living now. So I guess for him, at least, from his perspective, I totally agree with what you're saying, James. From his perspective, it's essentially, if he's not the best at what he's doing, then he's not, like, winning. Is that the kind of thing he's getting on at? Like...
Well, I would have no problem with him saying that for him, losing is terrible and it's a big part of his life. That's absolutely fine. But he seems to be, from the video I saw and from his tweet, he seems to be extending to everybody else in the world and calling it lazy if you don't believe that.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not too sure of how ironic it is that a man who plays games sitting in a chair all day long can possibly talk about laziness.
Yeah, it's very much... I feel he's trying to do a sort of inspirational thing. I think he's trying to do that you miss 100% of the shots you never take, kind of real quote-worthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's, as you said, James, I think he's taken the wrong expression to fight against, because "it's just a game" is not about people going, "Hey, like, give up. It's stupid."
Mm-hmm.
I think he's trying to say, like, you know, own your craft and strive to be the best at things.
Well, that's what he should have said.
But he's put it in opposition to the expression people use when people are needlessly getting pissy or huffy about something that is just a game.
Yeah.
And it's normally used in that situation when people are misbehaving after a loss, when people are ungraced, when people are sore losers. That's when people say it's just a game.
Yeah.
Like, get over yourself.
Like,
so
it's totally right. That could apply to I guess football fans who on the weekend when their football team loses, it's like the end of the world. Like, it's just a game of football. It's 11 people you've never met, and yes, I know you support them and you want them to do well. And people who play games want to win games, but yeah, like, you lose a game, no one's died, life goes on, you know, you're still okay, I'm assuming. That's what people mean by it. There's no disrespect to people who are playing games for a living or anything. He's just picked up on the wrong... I guess he's misunderstood what that means, I guess, maybe.
I feel so. It's just poorly phrased. Like, and don't worry, I'm sure the internet will take this in stride and go, there's definitely nuance to what he's trying to say.
Yes, and be diplomatic about it, and then...
not turn it into a black and white issue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't generally like this kind of thing. I mean, yeah, I understand probably what he's trying to say, which is, I guess, like, he's saying, like, you know, be the best way you can be and all that rubbish.
Don't listen to haters.
Yeah, like, when, like, bringing, like, what is supposed to be a hobby into something that, making it, like, seeming to make this broad statement that it should always like be competitive like that is, I don't know. To me, it seems to be taking like the fun out of what should this be. For most people, for 99% of the people who are playing games, it's just a little hobby on the side that you do to entertain yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Surely, for the sake of some enjoyment, like if you do want to play something competitively and you like to win like that, obviously go for it. But at the end of the day, if you do lose and you're just doing it for fun, then I don't understand. I like.
Then it is just a game.
Yeah, don't get cut up about it. Like
it's just a game in both the senses. Then, isn't it? Like it is literally just a game because it's not your living. I think he's maybe got confused that like because he makes a lot of money from gaming and it is his livelihood, that everybody else who likes games is in the same position or it strives to be in the same position, and that's just not the case for the vast majority of gamers. Yeah. So I think he's fighting a losing battle with that one.
Like I know so little about it. I'm just not interested in this competitive like esports as I believe it's being called now. But since I don't know this guy, there might have been something that I know there might have been some level of nuance to what he was trying to say. Maybe he was being sarcastic. I don't know. So I just want to put it out there. There was a potential that there's something I'm missing from that tweet.
There's a video of him basically making the same statement, and there's absolutely no two ways to take it.
You can fuck them.
And there's your opener.
Don't tell me what to think, pal. If I think it's just a game, I'll think that it's.
This comes back to what we were discussing last time on the podcast. Why someone completing a game in a certain way upsets other people. The same thing for him. Why does someone playing games and not caring if they win or lose, but just enjoying them, bother him so much?
Also, why does he have this idea of self-importance that he's talking about being good at Fortnite as if he's like climbing Everest or something? This is what gets me, where it's like it's a weak mindset because everyone who doesn't take Fortnite as seriously as him is weak-minded. Like he does need to get some perspective. He's not getting over a potentially terminal illness or doing a great feat like climbing Everest. He's very good at this game and he makes millions for it. His life is not that hard.
No.
Well, I'm speaking about this having no idea what he really does.
At this point in time, his life probably isn't that hard. Like,
I think he's made enough money that he wouldn't have to do anything for the rest of his life if he didn't want to.
But it's probably pretty addictive knowing how much he earns off being just that good at it. So he might, I think in his own head, he might have convinced himself that he can't have this weak mindset.
If he's just talking about himself and his application because that's his livelihood, then that's absolutely fine. But when people start, say this, it feels like the last time, when people start getting annoyed at how other people do things or live their life, and people start preaching about how people should do things and how certain people are wrong for not thinking a certain way. I think that's when you start to get into like really pointless arguments with people because they have no right to make that comment. And also, really, shouldn't waste their time thinking it in the first place. They should just get on with themselves.
100%.
Well, he could also, really, I feel the right way to put this is, anyone out there aspiring to be like me cannot have the brush off defeats, it doesn't matter mentality.
Mm-hmm. Like, what's the reaction been to this? Like, how have people reacted to this? Do we know? Like...
Yeah, not positively.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Like, which again doesn't say much coming from a gaming community, which have been known to be very reactionary. But
I think maybe it comes from a bit of insecurity because despite his success and his money, maybe he's not seen as legitimate because it's gaming and it's not sports. Maybe I don't know. Maybe there's a certain level of like, I'm really annoyed how people don't take me seriously, even though I'm very good at what I do. So he starts lashing out like that. I'm not too sure. Maybe he doesn't feel like he's got the respect he feels he should have. No.
I mean, there's definitely this issue of legitimacy with esports because I mean, personally, and I'll go on the record as saying I don't see esports in the same way as real sports, and I mean, some people would argue that like the levels of training that some players have to go through to actually be that good, borders on the insane.
That's another thing as well. Like, there's a certain level of responsibility on someone, I think, when they have a following. I'm not, one to like...
Of that many 8-year-olds.
Yeah. I'm not one to necessarily like want to curb free speech, but I think there's a certain level where like you have reached a point where the slightest thing you say could be interpreted by millions. You've got to really kind of be very careful with what you put out into the world.
It just seems a little bit petty to me. And Yeah, but I can't. It's not me to tell him how to act. He can do what he wants, but at the same time, in the same vein, he can't tell us to take something more seriously when I don't want to.
Keep it to yourself.
Yeah, it's like, sorry, Ninja. I'm sure you're a lovely lad, but I'm gonna have to disagree with you on this one.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's ever going to hear this, actually, but yeah.
If he does, we're fucked, by the way. We're fucked if he hears this.
He'll come round and tell us about our weak mindsets.
You'll beat us at Fortnite, and I'll never live it down.
I'll just cry myself to sleep the night he beats me at Fortnite.
I'll stop, I'll just leave. I'll say, no, he beat me at Fortnite. I'm gonna go play something better, like Crash Bandicoot.
I'd do the opposite. I'd just put the controller down at the end and go, well, at least it's just a game.
Right. Well, I think we've sorted that one. Shall we move on to another topic? Archie, you wanted to talk about what I've got noted down here as aimbots and XIM, which I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So start with XIM.
Okay, so XIM is essentially, the XIM is a brand name as far as I'm aware, and it's essentially a keyboard and mouse extension for your PlayStation or your Xbox or your console, and it just allows you to play like a game like Call of Duty on your PlayStation with a keyboard and mouse. It's just a peripheral extension, essentially, which seems like quite harmless. And you know what? My brother's got one. I've played it his, and it works really, really well. But we'll get on to why this might be a problem in a second. Aimbots are, from what I'm aware, they are like auto-targeting things that you play. Like usually you play them on PC. I don't think you can get these on consoles. But from what I'm aware of them,
I bet you can, but I bet you they're harder to do.
Oh, dude, you'll have to hack your system or something like that. And as far as I'm aware of them, they kind of auto-target to, targets your enemies, so you don't have to kind of go through the inaccuracies of your own, abilities or inhibitions or something like that, and they will basically give you a supreme advantage over other people playing.
What's the point that we're arguing here? That they're bad?
What I was talking about last night was the point that these things have the potential to both be bad in some way. Yes. However, I said things like extending your peripherals, like with the XIM, are just allowing more accessibility for somebody to play a game. However, on the flip side, it does give that player a supreme advantage over those players who are using a controller, for instance.
An unfair advantage.
Yeah, and that kind of that sways a game in some way, and I think it does make games a little unbalanced, uneven, and again, in some cases, a little less fun. But I'm not against the idea of people using them if they want to, but I like the option, if it was possible, to have those people who are using them just to play in their own server together. So the people who have controllers can play together, and they don't necessarily have to, go up against somebody who has this device that's really going to, allow them to, clear out and win.
I've got something to throw into the conversation in here. I was watching a video and they had 3 professional gamers come in and play on the same game, and they did the same tests on the same games on using 3 different monitors. One had a 60 hertz refresh rate, one was a 140 I think, and one was a 270 or 300 plus. Mm-hmm. And they measured these gamers' performance during the tests in the game on different monitors. And it showed, without sort of shadow of a doubt, that every single one of these gamers improved drastically at 140 hertz over 60 hertz,
okay.
but not so much between 140 and 200, or whatever it was, 270.
Okay. Yeah.
So basically, they said for them, the performance increase, whilst it was quite big, they actually had one regular gamer in the bunch as well, and his performances were massively improved. So for the average person playing a game, if you've got access to a higher quality monitor, you will actually have an advantage in the games they were using were shooter games, so CSGO, Call of Duty. So you would actually have a huge advantage. So then if you're talking about using keyboard and mouse, surely if you're getting a massive advantage over having a slightly better monitor than somebody else, then you've got to. Is that not part of the argument as well? Does it not just come down to a person with faster computer and better equipment is just going to be slightly better than everybody else?
It is, but I think with regards to the PlayStation, where the tech is more kind of like it's all built around the same requirements. I think, is it fair to allow somebody, I guess, to have that advantage over other people, or should they allow people to kind of like choose whether they want to play with those people or not?
I think we have to separate it into console and PC as well, because on a console, this will negate your refresh rate for one, because I assume that the consoles are. Oh no, they go up to God knows what now, don't they?
I have no idea.
I was going to say, because normally like the frame rate of a console is like set.
Oh yeah, it's all like capped. You can't change it unless they've put something in for it. Yeah. And my point is it considered cheating to use these extra things on the console when these things aren't official products by the manufacturer and all that? They're all kind of modded in.
You could just have a bot that never misses, or bullets that home in on every enemy, and at that point, then why are you playing?
But with keyboard and mouse, I understand, like, oh, you prefer playing with that, so why should you be prevented from using that? But at the same time, in a sphere of where people are playing, usually with the same tech, because they want to play with like that, is it fair to put all those people in the same like pool, if you know what I mean? Or should they have more options to kind of like, if it's possible to have more options to like separate them out so they don't have to play with those people who are using these different devices?
Yeah.
That might be quite tricky to enforce that.
But just as a theoretical standpoint, is that something that should be done, or or do you guys think it shouldn't matter? Doesn't matter at all? Like,
I guess if there's and I don't know, but like if there is a definite improvement, you know, like it's actually like impossible for a person with a controller to beat someone who's using keyboard and mouse on a shooting game, then that's a huge and unfair advantage, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, my brother has it, and I like the idea that he was always a PC master race and all that, and he got this, and because the PlayStation is cheaper than a high-end PC, the experience is relatively same compared, like Call of Duty on PC is not too different from Call of Duty on PlayStation, and the fact that he could have this like cheaper device and this XIM thing just like emulated that PC experience, he now started playing like that, and I think that's quite nice to think that it's helpful in those ways. But I was using it, and yet it was really, really good. And I'm terrible at playing Call of Duty, but I came like first or second on the first go using this device, and it wasn't just by like, you know, a couple points between me and third place. It was like tens of like you're just clearing out, and that takes away a bit of the fun. But again, is it fair?
Well, no, I think if it's making that much of a difference, if it's essentially coming down to the tech rather than someone's ability, then it's unfair. If it's like it's not on the same levels as unfair as someone using an aimbot and actually cheating, but it's still making a huge difference. So I think in that situation, hypothetically, if there was a way to do it, anyone using the keyboard and mouse combination on a PlayStation, they'd all have to be in the same server, and anyone using a controller would have to be in a separate server.
Yeah. And you were saying this when we were chatting about this yesterday, Archie, that from a technical standpoint, it's much more difficult to do because the XIM isn't technically recognized as a device by these consoles, right? It's sort of a hack.
From what I'm aware, it's a little bit of a hack. It's like an app. I don't think Sony frown on it. They're not like, you can't put that on our device or anything like that. Same for Xbox. I like the idea of them. I think they're a nice thing. I sent some of you guys the other day, and for people listening who don't know, it was just the idea that the new Doom game has offered more levels of accessibility where you can like remap controllers, and I've always thought, like, why doesn't that happen more often on console games? Why is keyboard and mouse always being this thing that's like, I don't know, it just never seems to have been a part of that system.
That used to happen a long time ago, didn't it? With
did it? Like
controllers, I remember in certain games you were actually, I'm pretty sure actually Call of Duty, you could go through like several different setups. I think they were all presets, but you could go through
but this is fully mappable, right?
Yes, this is fully mappable. Like presets are fine, but I just like the idea of like I've never understood why on console you've never been able to have that full customization of your controller. Like you can on that game on Rush. And seeing that was so like, this is so weird to see this on a console game. You could do this on PC games from what I'm aware. Like it's been in PC games for ages. And yeah, you're right, James, there are presets, but I don't think that's always ideal. I've just never understood it. Why why can't X be the shoot button if I want it to be? Or and with the Zim, like why hasn't there been like all these compatibility things for like keyboard and mouse setup? And just don't know. I like the idea of it. It does give people an unfair advantage. There are people who play them just to win, which is a bit sad.
I was going to say with the keyboard and mouse thing, I know it's, and I'm probably the same myself. Like you technically become a better player with keyboard and mouse.
Yeah.
But I find myself more competitive in terms of I can actually rank higher on shooter games with a controller.
Wow,
so
really? Okay.
I'm probably, I don't know what the wording would that be. I guess I'm
controller specialist.
No, because I could probably outdo myself, but I would rank higher among controller players than I would amongst keyboard and mouse players.
Yeah, because they're probably using aimbots.
Well, also, there's probably just a lot of people that have like mastered the whole keyboard and mouse thing and are just like insanely good at it. Whereas a controller's a bit more of a leveler, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
We were talking about Zims and the keyboards and aimbots, and we kind of like agreed that we weren't against the idea of keyboard and mouse setups. We'd like if there's more ways to kind of like put those people together, separate them from the people who aren't using it, who don't want to play with them. Aimbots are, cheating. And then you mentioned that you use your steering wheel, which in some respects is the exact same thing. You're getting this extra degree of accuracy with your turns and all that. Like I'm assuming you use pedals as well. It's not just a
yeah.
And all these different degrees of like acceleration and brake pressure, which are probably programmed in all these games, which you don't really get again on a controller.
It does give you a whole lot more control. But what I don't get is I'm not actually any better at the games now. I've got the wheel. It's like I thought it would give me an unfair advantage, and I went online on Gran Turismo Sport and, the second I got my wheel, and turned out I was shite.
Is that maybe just an element of getting used to the new way of playing the game?
No, because I've spent hours on it and I still seem to be really shite. Maybe I'm just shite. That's my problem.
That could be.
I don't think I mightn't be very good, but I feel it's one of these things like there's probably less of a ceiling on it. Maybe it's harder to pick up initially, but if I keep at it, I feel I'll continue progressing, and there's probably only so far you can go playing with a controller. And but the thing is, the steering wheels are picked up by the console. Like the console knows I'm using a steering wheel, and it's not a hack like the Zim. So that means, at least on the developer side, the game knows what kind of input I'm using. I can go into the in-game options and set up everything for my steering wheel, which means I assume in some respect they would be able to matchmake me with other players using steering wheels as well if they wanted. Don't know if they do, don't know if they don't. I mean, the matchmaking on like Gran Turismo, for example, is down to your ability and how much of a dick you are. It's a good matchmaking system, but I don't know if something with a Zim, unless you get a fully licensed Zim, you could actually like address this issue.
Yeah. No, it'd be interesting to hear what people think about it as well. Like, do they consider it unfair? Do they like the idea of it? I don't know. Just so I just was in because my brother like loves this thing. It changes his perspective on console games, so that was a nice thing as well. It's a nice accessibility thing for people who maybe can't like hold controllers correctly.
Definitely.
Amongst many other things, like, I'm not totally against it, but I think reiterating what we've already said, that I think it would be nice to give people the option whether they want to play with those people or not. And aimbots can get the fuck. Like, I just don't understand that shit.
But it depends. That could be an accessibility tool as well. I mean, there's definitely like an aim assist built into a lot of first-person shooters.
On console,
you can turn it off in some games, yeah.
Exactly, but I think once you go online, these kind of settings are normally standardized.
Or you might, if you have it left on, you might just be pushed into a server where everybody has it turned on.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But at least like an aimbot could be a very useful tool for people who otherwise, the game would be unplayable. So it's fine. Again, it's fine to have them in, and when a game is an individual experience and has no competitive elements, then most of these things are fine. It's not a problem. It doesn't matter how you play it. Doesn't matter how I play it. It's once games are competitive, then it starts to become a bother if people aren't all on the same playing field. Or more so if people aren't aware that they're not on the same playing field. That's when it becomes unfair, because Mario Kart does away with this and people know. Like, the game is set up to rubber band everyone together through power-ups and everything, and it makes it a great experience for everyone. It's all very accessible.
I think that's the line in the sand, is that if you've got these aids in games and everyone knows they're a part of it, then fine. But if someone is using sort of clandestine means to try and win a competitive online version of the game, then that's when it's unacceptable, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Definitely, most games you can choose servers by the rules you like to play by.
Yeah.
And in that case, it's fine. But when people are going around it, and good use of the word clandestine, James, that's the thing. As long as everyone knows what the rules of the game are, it's like going to the pub and playing pool with someone, and then realizing partway through you two don't have the same understanding of what the rules to pool are.
Yeah.
You know, and you go, wait, is it 2 shots or ball in hand, or is it X, Y, and Z? You know, and then suddenly goes, well, I've always played this. It's like, oh, we didn't agree this before the game, and now I'm just finding out about all these different rules. So I think you can have all of these assists, aids, balancing tools, matchmaking, as long as everyone involved knows what they are from the outset. And then we can all have a good time because we know what game we're playing.
I just want to caveat this before we close this off. Like, this didn't come about because I was losing tremendously at some game. This isn't some bitter lemons.
Definitely did. Thanks for listening to the Indie Bandits podcast. Feel free to leave a review and share this podcast if you liked it. For more stuff on indie games, check out indiebandits.com and look for Indie Bandits on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.